Recently I was thinking about the video we did last year about projects that sounded brilliant on paper but somehow just did not translate well on screen. And even if they were admirable, there was something missing in truly having a unanimous response that it is worth the audience's time across the board. We spoke about how Shah Rukh Khan's collaboration with Imtiaz Ali in the form of Jab Harry Met Sejal turned out to be a mess of a screenplay. Not to forget that terrible Gujju accent, frustrating fans even more when Imtiaz in retrospect talks about the film and wanting to create a film with no story. A flippant attitude to an anticipated collaboration that just broke everyone's heart. We spoke about films like Jagga Jasoos and its indulgent storytelling not knowing when to end. Tube Light and its admirable attempt that seemed to lack the emotional punch that the film's storyline demanded. And finally Kalank, while opulent and beautiful in scale, just through its narrative simply bored the hell out of everyone. These anticipated films either faltered due to their storytelling but also sometimes bear the brunt of a terrible release and marketing strategy. An exceptional Hollywood film in my opinion, The Last Duel, suffered from a terrible promotional campaign, where the film was not even given a chance on its opening weekend. Only weeks later for people to explore it and conclude that it would have been such an engaging watch on the big screen. Further speaking about films that were hugely anticipated but somehow missed the mark in being a holistic home runs, here is Tried&Refused Productions talking about what went wrong with these 5 big Bollywood movies. Samrat Prithviraj. If one thinks about Akshay Kumar and the various genres that he has explored, it was only period epics that were left to check off from his filmography. So when it was announced that he will star in and as Samrat Prithviraj directed by Chandraprakash Dwivedi, there was excitement followed by huge skepticism. The doubts crept in because the historical figure died at the age of 26, having been made king at the age of 11, and all of it just did not add up from a casting point of view. To make matters worse, Akshay barely looked the part, sporting the same haircut and a poor man's mustache, quite the antithesis to the long mane the historical figure was known to sport. The audience feeling shortchanged of the dedication they expect from an actor while portraying such a celebrated figure from Indian history. While the problems existed with the lead and the lack of conviction that was evident as audiences saw more of Akshay and less of Samrat Prithviraj, the rudimentary screenplay of the film did not help its case either. Manav Vij and his rendition of Mohammad Ghori sadly paled in comparison to the other memorable antagonists we have seen in period epics. He embarks upon channelizing a baritone voice and stoic-like presence, but it did not rile up an intimidating feeling within you as a viewer. There is no insight into his personality individually. You want to be scared of the impending doom, but the character through the writing doesn't possess that horrifying presence one would equate to an army being led and attacking the Indian subcontinent. The lack of chemistry between the leads was even more of a sore to the eye. Manushi being poker faced through most of her emotional moments, not really having the ability to impact audiences with the emotional arc and longing that she has for Prithviraj. The film barely impacted you emotionally. Even Sanyogita immersing herself in flames came across as comical, quite in contrast to the iconic climax of Padmavat. This became a huge lost opportunity in my eyes, with several departments faltering in truly making Akshay's foray into period epics memorable. Bhediya. I was actually incredibly hyped for the Amar Kaushik directed film Bhediya starring Varun Dhawan. The teaser and music itself promised us so much regarding a unique and high concept film from Hindi cinema. It was the closest I could think we were getting to replicating something that we have only seen in Raj comics in live action form. While Bhediya aced most of its elements, it still somehow underperformed, and this has more to do with just the Drishyam 2 wave that it was subjected to a week prior. I think the reason why Bhediya is not spoken about enough beyond Apna Banale is that while the novelty still remains that something new is being produced by Hindi cinema and needs support and love, but that shouldn't be the only reason why you don't highlight several of its storyline issues and what could have made it soar to become exceptional, rather than just an admirable attempt. The several subplots that are left unexplored in the film probably were its biggest demerits. Kriti is almost in an extended cameo of sorts in this film, and I think if the film on the contrary really did explore her origin story, the atrocities that were caused to her tribe, that has led to her strong connection with the forest, what was specifically Sharad Kelkar doing that he was attacked by the Bhediya, and more importantly, why the Bhediya is the chosen savior of the forest. The climax and Kriti's loss would have had a far greater impact than it did in the movie. This would have also led to the social commentary of the environment being protected against human intervention and development when Kriti confronts Varun to have a far greater impact. This deep dive into the folklore of the Bhediya should have been the core of the film, versus a balance of horror and comedy. The climax thereafter eventually transforms to become just any other action sequence, but to emotionally resonate with Kriti, it would have been ideal if one knew what she underwent, versus just to assume that it was traumatic. One of the biggest arguments to defend this point is people talking about how these themes will be explored in the sequel or prequel of Bhediya, but the important point to acknowledge is that you need to give more to the audience to build that excitement for future installments, other than just a Stree Bhediya face-off. This is why Raj and DK excel in world building as writers, something that they did in Stree, and the essence of which was missing in Bhediya. Attack. I think one of the most effective trailers where the creators formulated the perfect blend of background score and visuals almost to the T in sync with one another was that of Attack starring John Abraham. This stylized action film, which had obvious parallels with films like Universal Soldier and Upgrade, had an underwhelming box office run. While sharing a release date immediately the week after the monster that was RRR, Attack, despite its unique and contemporary flavor with the action genre, barely caused waves. I think it was due to an amalgamation of elements. The excessive cuts and combat sequences that changed perspective in rapid succession took away from the otherwise complex choreography. Sadly, the romantic relationship between John and Jacqueline is generic and surface level at best, and even though Lakshraj Anand wanted to attempt a fast-paced, no-nonsense action film that doesn't waste the time of the audience, this precisely was one of the reasons why the audience could not emotionally connect with John and Jacqueline's subplot. Almost rushed through the relationship in the first half. The weak origin story of the antagonist barely leaving a mark made Attack a commendable attempt but not a knockout action film. When the technical aspects such as the action set pieces and musical score are its impressive qualities, you only wished that the storyline and motivations were more solid. For not only us to be in awe of its technical aspects but emotionally resonate with its screenplay and characters. One thing I've realized, the audience does not mind a long running time if you invest it for your characters. It always benefits a film, even a no-nonsense action film. Dunki. Everyone's expectations had skyrocketed with the SRK and Rajkumar Hirani collaboration, an expectation that this will be an emotional ride that will truly make everyone weep in theatres and make the wait worthwhile. However, Dunki eventually turned out to be a mixed bag, especially from an emotional point of view, of characters who want a brighter future, who work tooth and nail to achieve that dream illegally, but in hindsight miss their roots. A journey that calls them back home should have been an emotional ride for the ages, but I think the screenplay of the Hirani film let it down. Even the execution of the Dunki route is so fast-paced after the interval, you never really feel the physical and emotional triumph they go through along the journey. A mere montage across songs was simply not enough. I was thinking, what went missing in Dunki, especially in the second half? And then I especially thought about the journey of the group of misfits. When Hardy is compelled to go back home, the only context of Manu, Geetu and Baggu's journey in the UK is through hindsight. The feeling of missing home is never conveyed through the hardships they faced. We are immediately transported to a time where they are oldies doing random jobs who miss home, and Manu wants her last few days to be spent at her homeland. The lack of emotional resonance is precisely because we never really see their struggle in the foreign land. It's only assumed, left to the imagination of the audience as Hardy comes to rescue them. The romantic feeling attempted with the 360-degree Veer Zara moment is surface level at best. SRK and Taapsee come across as best buds, more than love interests. An admirable attempt indeed, something that Indians abroad especially connected with, but the magic of a Hirani film seemed missing in this movie. Whether it was the absence of Vidhu Vinod Chopra is something that is up for debate, but one thing is for sure, this could have been so much more, clearly reflective of why it never made it to anyone's top 10 list either for 2023. You would be lying to yourself if you admitted that the Hirani magic was there. Brahmastra. If there was one film I know every Hindi cinema fan was looking forward to, it was Brahmastra. Not because of just the long wait, but because it genuinely looked amazing from a visual standpoint, and the assumption was we can finally have a sci-fi fantasy franchise we can be proud of. While the film nailed the VFX and some portions of action choreography, it really lacked the depth one assumed the film was promising to have. I allude the mixed responses of the movie to several reasons. The dumbed down dialogues of the film really let the film down. Dialogues like अंधेरे में light को ढूंढो, light वो रोशनी है, or the description of the Brahmastra itself, कुछ ऐसा triangle type का है जिसको जोड़ो तो गोल बन जाता है, पिज्जा जैसा. It immediately disconnected viewers. I think the biggest sticking point was Alia's character being reduced to a mere love interest, shouting Shiva every 5 minutes. By the end of it, the questions of Shiva tum kaun ho, Shiva tum kaise ho, Shiva tum kya ho just got on everyone's nerves, and one wanted more of a deep dive on Ranveer's origin story, powers and Junoon's end goal versus the exploration of this love story. Amitabh Bachchan gatekeeping Shiva's origin story for the right moment was one of the most frustrating elements of the film, and while visually the movie is still one of the most stunning products from Hindi cinema, it deserved better writing to excite audiences about Dev and Amrita, something that still seems to be in the dark of whether it's happening or not. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what do you think about these movies and what went really missing in them. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.